It was Saturday night and I was having a sleepover at my house. It was me and my two best friends, Jasmine and Cassie. We were having so much fun. We spent hours making and messing around with slime, holding group chats with our other friends who weren't there with us, and watching movies as we slammed pizza and soda into our stomachs. We watched our fair share of what could be considered girly movies, but by the end of the night, we decided we were going to close out with a horror movie. I wasn't all that big on horror movies, and I never watched one before I went to bed, especially if I was all alone, but I had my girls with me, and I felt brave enough to get through at least one. I scrolled through all the Netflix options under the horror genre, and we bounced eye-catching titles off of each other. We'd gone through and shot down 7 or 8 titles before Cassie made a suggestion. She told us about a movie called Veronica. She said she heard about it from her sister, who at the time was telling her friend how scary it was. I pulled the movie trailer up on YouTube, and we all agreed that it looked like it was worth watching. I keyed in the title on Netflix, and before we started the movie, I went into the kitchen to microwave a couple of bags of popcorn. Within 5 minutes, I was back in my room with a jumbo bowl of extra buttery and a fresh 2-liter of strawberry pop. Jasmine cut out the light, Cassie relieved me of the bowl of popcorn, and I set aside the 2-liter and started the movie. I was a little thrown off by the fact that the movie had subtitles, and I would have to read for the next hour and 45 minutes. Amazingly, after the first couple of minutes of watching, I was instantly reeled in, and the reading became less and less of a problem for me. The 3 of us sat there gathered around my 40-inch TV, reaching back and forth into the bowl of popcorn until it was all gone, pouring cups of soda for ourselves until the container was half empty. Turns out that drinking that much pop and watching an incredibly scary horror movie wasn't the smartest thing we could have done. You can probably guess that we had to pause the movie more than a few times to take necessary bathroom breaks. Even with all the interruptions, Veronica was probably one of the creepiest movies I'd ever seen. I know that doesn't say much since I'm not a big horror fan, but judging by the way Jasmine and Cassie, who watched horror movies all the time, were screaming and jumping at every frightening scene, I say that gives credit to my claim. I don't know how my mom and dad tolerated all of our sporadic screams. By the time the movie was over, we were all pleasantly spooked out of our wits, laughing and joking as we recounted the scariest parts. I don't know where she got the idea from, but Cassie made another suggestion, only this time it wasn't a movie. It was that we play a game. She grabbed her phone and showed me and Jasmine just what type of game it was she wanted to play. She pulled up a Ouija Board app and said she downloaded it the day before, but wanted to wait until we were all together before she opened it. She said it was because the more people played, the better, but deep down, I think the real reason was because she was too scared to do it on her own. Anyway, both me and Jazz told her we weren't interested in fooling with any Ouija boards, regardless of whether or not it was a phone app. I don't know why anyone would want to mess with anything related to that stuff, especially after watching a movie like the one we just watched. But that was Cassie for you, foolishly bold. She was also very persistent and convincing. Somehow, she managed to change both me and Jasmine's minds about playing. I swear that girl could talk anyone into doing anything. We darkened the room and sat in a circle on my bed. Her phone was laid out flat between us, the light from its screen eerily illuminating us, but leaving the rest of my room in total darkness. I asked her how was this supposed to work, and she said all we had to do was touch the phone and then we could start asking questions. Cassie placed her hands on the phone, and me and Jasmine followed suit, but with noticeable reluctance. Something in the pit of my stomach was telling me not to do this, and every time I came close to listening to that voice, Cassie's pushiness would drown it out. It started off rather dull. Cassie would ask a question and the app would respond in an eerie voice. Sounded scary, but unfortunately it didn't get a single one of her answers right. Or it'd answer in a way that was so far off you could tell it was just a program trying to answer in the best way it could. Seeing how harmless it was, Jasmine and I took turns, asking it questions we all knew the answer to, but laughing with enjoyment when the voice from the app got it so wrong. Just we were about to call it quits to the cheesy app, Cassie asked it one last question, one that would change the tone of the night and alter my life forever. She asked, "Grandpa Ron, can you hear me?" I instantly took my hands off the phone and looked at her angrily. I said to her, "What do you think you're doing? Don't play like that." "I'm not playing," she said, looking at me with a half-serious expression. She said to me, "Your grandpa died in this house just a couple of months ago. It's a good chance that his spirit is still here. Don't you want to talk to him? Don't you want to hear him talk back to you?" "No, I don't. Not like this," I told her. "I don't need some creepy $3 app to talk to my grandpa. I'll do it the safe way and talk to him like I always have, through my prayers." "Oh, come on, Katie," she said to me. "Your Grandpa Ron was the sweetest old guy in the world. What harm could come from talking to him? Don't be such a chicken. Look, if things get creepy, I'll stop the app and turn off my phone and we can fall asleep watching Fuller House or something. Promise." I should have told her to take that deal and shove it, but I knew Cassie, and I knew she'd just keep pecking away at me until I agreed to let her do whatever it was she wanted to do. So to save time and avoid aggravation, I told her to just do it, but I also told her that the second things got weird, we were done with this. She happily agreed and carried on with her questions. With all of our hands back on the phone, she asked the app, "Grandpa Ron, are you here?" But the first time all night, the app didn't respond. That could have been considered creepy enough grounds to terminate this little fiasco, but I held my tongue. Cassie then said to the app, "Grandpa Ron, it's me, Cassie. I have Katie here with me. She wants to talk to you. She says she misses you so much and would love to hear your voice again." As the app remained silent, I could feel my shoulders getting tense with rage. I hated that Cassie was using me and playing off the love I had for my grandpa to play her stupid little game. I was just about to tell her enough was enough when the app's creepy voice suddenly spoke. It said, "I'm here." We all looked down at the phone screen at the same time. I could feel a chill course through me, causing every strand of hair from my arms to the back of my neck to rise. Cassie smiled and then asked, "Where are you, Grandpa Ron? Are you still living in this house or have you moved on to heaven? Where are you talking to us from?" The voice came back, "I'm right behind you." That answer was far scarier than the entire movie we just watched. Scary enough to the point where it quickly prompted me to look over my shoulder. And I wasn't the only one. Jasmine did too. Even the bold Cassie looked a little shook by the response. Ready to put this stupid game to bed, I decided to do what we did before and ask it a question it had no chance of answering. I said to the app, "If you're really my grandpa, then what's your special name for me?" I waited for the app to respond with arrogant confidence because I knew that there was no way it could answer that. Not even my best friends knew what my grandpa's nickname for me was because he only called me that in private. It was our thing, and only he and I knew about it. I gave the app a fair 10 seconds to respond before I turned to Cassie and said, "Put the phone away and turn on the lights. We're about to watch Fuller House."
Cat.
I stopped everything I was thinking and saying up until that point and fixed my eyes on Cassie's cell phone screen. "What did that just say?" I asked Cassie and Jasmine. Neither of them could answer me. The app's voice, in a tone much deeper than it had normally been, came through once more and said clearly,
Cat.
I could feel the air suck right out of me. My friends didn't know what was going on with me. Cassie and Jasmine both kept asking me what was wrong, and I finally lashed out and told them. "That's what my grandpa used to call me, okay? Cat was his name for me. Now how the heck did that app know that?" I didn't wait for either of them to respond. I got up and rushed out of my room, feeling an onset of emotions coming on that I didn't want them to see. I went into the kitchen to get myself a glass of water. When I flicked on the light, I was frightened out of my mind to see that I wasn't alone. Standing with their back turned towards me was a man, a small man, seemingly frail, wearing a tan sweater and dark blue pants. At first glance, I didn't know what to think, other than I knew it wasn't my father. Was it a burglar? It only took 2 seconds for my mind to process what I was seeing. It wasn't a burglar. I knew those clothes and I knew that posture, the hunched over way he stood as he braced himself against the counter. It was Grandpa, my Grandpa Ron. Tears welled up in my eyes, slightly blurring my vision. I called out to him, my voice filled with the pent-up emotion I'd been trying to hold back. I didn't know if what I was seeing was real or not, but that confirmation came only a second or so later when Jasmine and Cassie came to check on me and found me in the kitchen crying. They tried to find out what was wrong with me, but when I didn't answer them, they noticed that my eyes were targeted directly ahead of me. When they turned their sights in the same direction as mine, their immediate reactions of slightly jumping back and gasping let me know that they saw it too. But to be totally sure, I asked them, "You see him too?" Through my peripheral vision, I could see that they were both nodding yes. With his back still turned to us, my grandpa's soft, gentle voice could be heard by my ears for the first time since he died. In almost a whisper, he called out, Cat, Cassie, Jasmine, I missed all three of you." Both Cassie and Jasmine instantly became as emotional as I was, and reasonably so. My grandpa had been like a grandpa to them too. He loved all three of us, and I knew they felt the same for him. All three of us stood there, weeping, just like we had done at his funeral 3 months ago. Only this time, our tears weren't from pain, but from happiness. Jasmine spoke up and said, "We've missed you, Grandpa Ron." Grandpa Ron then responded in another soft whisper, Cat, Cassie, Jasmine, I've come to take you three back with me." I didn't know what he meant by that, and from the confused, teary-eyed expressions on Cassie and Jasmine's face, I could tell that they didn't quite get it either. I spoke up in a quivering voice, "I don't understand, Grandpa. What do you mean?" "I know you don't understand, Cat," he answered in a soft whisper of a voice. But out of nowhere, his voice grew increasingly strong and deep as he went on to say, "But you'll understand soon enough, Cat, Cassie, and Jasmine. We're gonna have so much fun." He quickly spun around to face us as he yelled out,
"It'll be a real scream."
We all screamed in sheer terror, and not just because of what was said or how it was said, but because of what said it. Upon seeing its deformed face, its pitch black eyes and monstrous teeth, we all knew that we weren't dealing with my Grandpa Ron, but something that assumed his identity to trick us. We all ran screaming as loudly as we could past my bedroom and straight into my parents' room. We hysterically told them about everything. We told them about what we saw in the kitchen, what it said to us, the Ouija Board App, everything. Naturally, they assumed we watched one too many horror movies and insisted that we just imagined the whole thing in what my father called group hysteria, but we knew the truth and we refused to budge on it. Cassie and Jasmine were so frightened, they refused to finish out the night there and called their parents to come and get them. I refused to leave my parents' bedroom, and for the next 9 nights, that's where I slept. My mother eventually got the reverend from our church to come and bless our house. How much that helped, I can't say for sure. All I know is that before the blessing, I couldn't take a step anywhere in our house without a creepy feeling looming over me that something was watching me. Something I couldn't see, but something that was right there beside me, following me, even though I'd be in a room all by myself. After the blessing, I felt like I could breathe again. That once ominous, looming feeling was gone. I still slept in my parents' bedroom for about a week or so after the house was blessed, before I eventually felt it was safe enough for me to return to my bedroom. It's been over 4 months since that terrifying incident, and everything seems to be back to normal. I'm truly grateful for that because I know many people aren't as lucky. All I know for certain now is that if and when I ever choose to participate in another sleepover, it's going to have to be held at either Cassie or Jasmine's house. That way, if the night takes a turn for the worse, I could be the one leaving them holding a bag of horror while I return to the safety of my home, just like they did to me.